warm welcome to all of you to the Lentra Digital Lending Transformation Global Summit 2022. Well, my name is Kavya R. Chavali, and it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all to a day that's filled with conversations that'll provide a comprehensive view of the digital lending ecosystem in India and also help us understand key market trends, enablers and drivers, as well as the new players entering in the space. Let's straight away dive in to give a head start to the program, for which I'd like to invite on stage Mr. Sandeep Mathur, Chief Revenue Officer, Lentra.
You know, one of the things that I want to talk about today is this earnings season that we're having. Bank after bank, NBFC after NBFCs posted some incredible results, despite all the headwinds that we've seen over the last maybe 2.5 years of COVID. But what's, I think, also happening is that, you know, there is a sense in the market that things have to change. Things have to change very rapidly. The market potential is massive. There is a massive opportunity in front of us. A lot of innovation is required, and we sense that most of the financial institutions are already either on the journey or replacing their asset systems or are going to undertake these journeys from now on. So all of these need to transform as we sort of go forward. We are humbled that you're all here. Let's have a great conference.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time to gather insights on the topic that's on all of our minds when we talk about financial inclusion for a $5 trillion economy. So ladies and gentlemen, we have with us the august presence of Dr. D. Subba Rao, former Governor, Reserve Bank of India.
We want to be a 5 trillion economy. Currently, we're at about 3 trillion. Economists estimate that we'll get to 5 trillion by 27-28. But here's the thing. How fast we get there is important, but even more important is how we get there. We can get to a 5 trillion economy in many ways. We can inflate the economy away. That'll be unsustainable. The only sustainable way we can get to 5 trillion and go beyond is if the bottom 600 million people are part of the growth process. Growth to which they contribute, growth from which they benefit. The next revolution in finance has to be driven by technology. So technology today makes possible many things that were not possible 10 years ago. And that, I believe, is the purpose of this conference.
And on that riveting note, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to gather a special address on digital innovation for inclusive growth in financial inclusion. And we have with us none other than Praveena Rai, COO, National Payments Corporation of India.
The topic here, of course, follows up from the opening address, which is digital innovation for inclusive growth. And really, we've moved from a slightly exclusive situation where a large swath of people did not have access to what we all take for granted. And a lot of this inclusion has happened through very nicely structured assisted services. So really, the stepping stone towards digital inclusion in this segment has been to create awareness, create the trial, create the usage through assisted models, and then a part of the population starts getting more comfortable with doing it themselves. So I think these are some of the aspects that form this journey, this positive cycle of enablement and inclusion. Thank you very much.
It's the time to indulge in a very important panel discussion. So yes, we're now focusing on lending in Web 3.0.
Let me start with you, Rajiv. We talk a lot about digital lending part of it, but at the end of the day, it is deposits and lending that we look as a banker. So what has changed in the last few years and how it is going to impact in the future?
Customer behavior is changing because there's lots more alternatives. Their journeys are very different. They're purchasing on different platforms. And as bankers or NBFCs, we have to adapt to what their need is. So as bankers, we have to learn that even though you have branches or you have your own mobile app or whatever, if you're not there where the customer wants to be, you probably would have lost the customer's business. And that's true for most services, most goods.
Ravi, coming to you. So credit underwriting and collections are the two areas which need new strategies, innovation and technology intervention. Customer acquisition, servicing have certain amount of maturity which we see currently, and especially on the retail side of it. So what's your viewpoint? How should we kind of approach this as we go along?
You have all kind of tools and data available for underwriting. You have a huge market outside. You are able to go and pick and choose customers, because end of the day, your credit policy and underwriting standards are more, are proprietary to a bank largely. And of course, on the collection side, you need to be there at the doorstep of the customers. Again, that has now moved away from physical human beings, reminding customers of their payment, to more digital interventions. So digital has kind of engulfed the entire aspects on consumer lending.
But I would just like to introduce a concept, how much to lend, rather than saying whom not to lend. And I will come to you, Sai.
We should lend up to the point that they can repay, right? Beyond that, it has impact on the society, it has impact on the family, it has impact on the institution which is giving the money as well. So the right amount is not what is the appetite of the last lending institution, but the right amount is how much can he repay.
Parag, coming to you, we have the new technologies and every day we are introducing something new. And it is increasing the risk on the data privacy, security aspect of it.
I think institutions like Aadhaar, etc., have ensured that we all as citizens can safely and securely put in data which is relevant to us. And we also know that there is regulation which ensures that regulated entities also have access to that data. So the use of data, a significant amount of that data, can help you, therefore, balance off the need to have much more stronger underwriting, and at the same time, you can keep on innovating.
One thing which you believe is going to disrupt the lending business in India.
I believe everything you can build, the behavioral analysis, which has to come in the underwriting part, digital lending. So I think that would be the very, very key, because when you are writing thousands of the loans, then certainly the collection has to be very, very, robust systems. So the less which goes for the collection and the most of the part which is on your the perfect time repayments, that is going to be decided by the behavioral.
Thank you to everyone.
It looks like it's time to set the stage again for our next panel discussion. The topic, of course, being NBFCs striking a balance between financial credit inclusion and risk management.
My first question is to Anjaneya. A lot of reports have been about the JAM Trinity and success of that in India. What has been your experience in your organization and leveraging these in terms of financial inclusion?
From where we are, I think the largest impact for us has been in collections. As we heard that, it may seem actually our digital collections have gone up considerably. Pre-UPI, if a mandate bounced, there was that much limited option to target the customer digitally. And today, it is that much more easier thanks to the proliferation of so many payment apps that you could send in-app notifications and make the collections happen. So for us, I think that has been the real benefit of the JAM Trinity, so to say.
My next question is for Manoj. While retail lending is getting more and more digitized, how is the MSME lending side playing out?
I think on the MSMEs, I think the heart of the question is, have they started to adopt and accept technology? And if you were to look at their core businesses that they do, because frankly, lending is just one thing that the MSME is doing. But for his core business, which is to say, can I get more customers for the products and services that I produce or manufacture? They have started using or adopting technologies, right? And that to some extent is having a very good rub-on effect even on the MSME lending market.
My next question is for Rakesh Singh. How do we ensure risk management digitally, especially in the MSME and business
lending?
We are in the business of lending. If we are giving money, we celebrate when we get the money back and not when we disburse the money. So it's clearly, and if you are building a lending business, it has to sustain for a longer period of time. So it has to be, risk management is the key. And how do we underwrite a customer, whether it's a consumer or MSME? I think it's very, very important that we use his capability, his credentials to really underwrite the customer.
Asim, the next question is for you. Many banks and NBFCs were competing for the middle income borrowers in tier 1 and tier 2 cities until a few years ago. How has that changed?
Public sector banks over the years had a business model of collecting deposits from small towns and lending in large towns. This started to slowly change because there was no retail in India before 1992. That is when retail really kicked off. And from 95, private sector banks came in and brought about the bigger retail revolution in lending. So that is when the table started to turn. But even then, the model continued to be lend retail in urban centers. When credit scoring came in, that became the first watershed moment when this began to change. Then with technology coming up, with Jan Dhan, Aadhaar, mobile, all of that coming in, slowly it started being possible to go into rural India.
I have the last question for you, Gaurav. What more would you like to see the government do to make this more robust, continue the growth or accelerate the growth, and have a better framework?
I think if we all can play a role is in educating customers on how this entire building your credit score or building your credit history works. I think that will be a good start.
I want to thank my esteemed panelists for a wonderful discussion, a lot of insights.
Let's march ahead towards our next session on transforming financial services with AWS by Vaishali Kasture, Head Enterprise Business, India and South Asia, Enterprise Mid-Market and Global Business, Amazon Internet Services, AISPL.
I come with a financial services background before I made the pivot to tech, and I love to say this, no matter what the problem is, the answer is usually tech. Let me pivot a bit and talk about AWS. We have 200 fully featured services available around the world, and all of this that you see on this slide is all just a culmination of what we've done in a very, very short span of 3 years in India. Just a reflection that we have very deep relationships with customers on this slide, which has evolved over the last 3 to 4 years. I'm going to end on that note. Thank you.
That being said, it's time to set the stage for the launch that we are all excited about. Well, this is where we will be spearheading the Lentra Lending Cloud launch, for which I will be inviting on stage Mr. Pankaj Sharma, who's the Chief Business Officer, Lentra.
May I request our founders, Mr. D. Venkatesh and Mr. Ankur Handa, to come on stage, please. A big round of applause for both of them, ladies and gentlemen. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, I will now request DV and Ankur to unveil the Lentra Lending Cloud. There it is.
Democratization of credit in India is something we are all experiencing every day. Lending has always been something that has been associated with the corporates and the privileged class. Today we are looking at housewives, students, farmers, street vendors. Everyone, both in urban as well as in rural India, is getting part of the mainstream and that's what the roots of financial inclusion in India is. Starting with all the JAM related policies that Government of India started with. But now what's happening is, even on the lending side, even the smallest of the street vendor will be able to lend, and I think that's a fantastic opportunity for the fintechs, for banks, for NBFCs across the country. So we are the enablers. We work very closely with the lenders. It could be banks, it could be fintechs, it could be NBFCs, and we are transforming lending to a point where we are digitizing the lending workflows as per the new age and as per the new era. So I think that's the power of digitization that we are enabling our banks and our fintech partners. And if we are able to get credit to urban, to rural, and every segment of India, that's going to be a massive sea change for our economy, moving towards 5 trillion goal that the government is trying to run through. And I think we are now working through the digitization agenda to get every inch closer to that.
There is tremendous excitement in the lending marketplace. And our research shows that by the year 2025, the retail lending would become greater than 100 trillion rupees, and we think that market growth is being driven by essentially 3 secular trends. Right. The first trend is that all journeys are turning digital. The trend number 2 is that customers want lending at the point of origination. In fact, even better, if you can embed that lending within the transaction that they're performing. The third is this whole unorganized lending, which is turning into organized lending. Now, with the number of programs that are being launched, including the account aggregator program, and in the past UPI and the Jan Dhan Yojana and all of those, that informal economy is becoming formal economy. So those are the 3 trends that I see which are driving growth within this particular segment.
And on that note, ladies and gentlemen, we're finally about to get started with the awards function. Excellence in loans, primarily for banks and NBFCs. Please put your hands together for Indiabulls Home Loans. Excellence in vehicle loan journey. A round of applause for Tata Motors Finance, ladies and gentlemen. Excellence in business loan journey. Let's hear it for IndusInd Bank. Excellence in consumer durable loan journey. Let's hear it for TVS Credit. For excellence in gold loans journey. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Muthoot Fincorp. Excellence in personal loan journey. Aditya Birla Capital, Aditya Birla Finance Limited. Excellence in supply chain financing journey. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for HDFC Bank. Best Digital Banking Product, Public Sector Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for SBI. And now for the Best Digital Banking Product, Private Sector Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Federal Bank. Best Digital Banking Product, NBFC. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Muthoot Finance. Best Digital Financial Inclusion Initiative, Public Sector Bank. India Post Payments Bank. Best Digital Financial Inclusion Initiative, Private Sector Bank. Ladies and gentlemen, let's hear it for Axis Bank. Best Digital Financial Inclusion Initiative, NBFC. Let's hear it for Tata Capital. Coming up next is a special award by Lentra for pioneers in digital lending transformation. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together as we hear it for HDB Financial Services. Excellence in educational loans journey. And let's hear it for Avance Financial Services. On behalf of Lentra, we'd like to thank you all for being part of this phenomenal evening.
I think it was a very engaging session, and the reason we need to keep doing these sessions is that we all learn through processes of osmosis and reverse osmosis. So what is important is that there is too much information, data coming our way, and sometimes dialogues, discussions, views, counter views help you kind of formulate your thought, get new ideas into your mind, refine some of the ideas that you had, and somewhere pick up new insights of what you can be missing out on that you should be building on. So these kind of events, really go a long way in terms of building a professional knowledge on top of the already existing knowledge that is there.
So yeah, I think today was a great learning day for me. There were great esteemed speakers and bankers in the room, and digital lending is really going to allow commerce to grow, which is going to be great for growth at the banks.
Amazing sessions, and in fact thanks to Lentra, thanks to ET to provide such kind of a platform, and the panelists, the big people, very intelligent people I will say in the market, the experts, okay, they are coming and sharing their experience and the knowledge, which definitely going to help people like us who are actually right now in the process of building this digital lending platform. So all the seniors experience and their regulatory guidelines, definitely it's an amazing day. It's a very thoughtful and very insightful day, I will say.
You have virtually about 6.5 crore MSMEs in the country,
Right.
out of which hardly 1.4 crores have got organized finance. 5.1 crores do not have organized finance.
Right.
Who are those 5 crore customers? They are kirana stores, they are your traders, they are your retailers, mom and pop shops with 1 or 2 helpers. To this large base, there is no way of reaching out without the digital option. The Government of India beautifully took the steps of making public infrastructure in place for this segment. With Jandan, Aadhaar, mobile were the initial routes where everyone got included in the financial system in the country. Now, with account aggregator, OCEN, ONDC coming in as public infrastructure, you will find a lot of loans to the non-financial included MSMEs going in mass in the next few years. And HDFC Bank is going that path with the power of digital information that we have bought out and the journeys which are completely digital.
Federal Bank from quite a long time, maybe from I remember from 1995, at that time itself bank has been focusing on digital as an option to reach out to customers. So something which is close to the heart of the bank is digital at the fore, human at the core. So that's something we have been always focusing on. So the entire journey can now be offered digitally because of all the options available from the government, etc. now. So it's a huge opportunity now available to banks also, along with NBFCs, fintech players. So I'm sure there's a lot of options available now. The bank is working on the space.
We are a multi-product full stack NBFC.
Right.
I think we started more on the MSME space, which is probably more chunky loans, slightly large ticket sized, and over a period of time, I think about 5-6 years, we introduced consumer finance into it, which is more like a short-term personal loan, small ticket loans, consumer loans which get decisioned in this thing. So I think we were probably there at the right point of time in the journey. So I think our entire consumer finance journey, if you see today, is completely digitized. It's a constant journey. I think it keeps evolving. Today was a great example. I think it was a great event where a lot of ideas were shared in terms of where we have reached, where we move from here today, what kind of technology is available for every part of the ecosystem, whether it is a lender, whether it's a borrower, whether it's some kind of an intermediary, regulator. I think it was a great session today.